Hey guys, Caesar here with Easy DIY Tech. I have a 2009 Chevrolet Aveo here that the AC is not cooling down enough. So what better chance than this to show you guys how to diagnose the mechanical components of an AC system. So first things first, you always want to diagnose an AC system. You want all your windows down in the car, and you want it to be getting fresh air. So if you have like an American car that has max AC on one of the knobs, you do not want it on max AC. You want to just have it getting fresh air with the AC button on. So once you have that settled, of course you got to open the hood, make sure we can access everything to it, and we're going to put some temperature covers on, put our gauges on, and show you how to diagnose. So when you're diagnosing an AC system, you do not want to block the frontal area. And that's one of the main components there for the AC system. So to properly diagnose any AC system, you're going to have some gauges. Now, most professional shops, they'll have a recovery machine. I'm sure you've seen that before. But since this is for DIY and how-tos here, I'm just using this very simple gauge here that you can get basically at any auto parts store or basic repair tool shops. These specifically here are from Harbor Freight. Now I have them hooked up right now, but they're not set. So we're going to tighten these guys down. Always make sure that the gauges are closed. So these guys are tightened down, so we should be getting some pressures now. So there are our pressures. So we got a low of 38 there, just about, and a high here of about 225. Another preliminary check that I forgot to mention is you always want to make sure even before you put the gauges on, make sure the clutch is spinning, the AC compressor clutch. Ours is down there, and it is spinning, and that the blower fan inside is blowing at a high speed, which it is. So here's the settings here. Always want to make sure you got the blower on max. You want to have as many vents open as possible so you get as much airflow. And you do not want it recirculating. You want it grabbing outside air with the AC compressor on. You always want to get outside air with the windows down on the vehicle, so that it is not recirculating that air and continually getting it colder, because those are going to give you false readings. That will give you false readings on your gauges. So when you're actually going out and about and it is very hot in the vehicle when you first start it up, you could eventually have too much pressure in the system, and it would eventually shut off because of the high pressure switch. So our pressures are actually pretty good right now. Where they sit, we are in a very hot shop right now. It's about 110 degrees in here. So these pressures are where they need to be. Most probable issue with this vehicle right now, since it is not cooling properly, is that it is going to have a clogged cabin air filter, and it is not getting enough airflow through the vents, because our pressures are just about right for the temperature that we're at. If our low side was very low, it could even get into negatives down here in the red, and our high side was very high, that would indicate we have a blockage somewhere in our system. Most of the time that's either at the expansion valve or the orifice tube. Easiest way to detect that is that the system itself will freeze, and you'll notice where the lines start freezing. So you would just start touching to see where the difference is, where it goes from hot to cold, or well, from warm to freezing, and that would be where the blockage would be at. That would usually be where the orifice tube is. This one is actually an expansion valve system over there. And if we have the AC compressor turning on and our low side remains high, it barely drops. Let's say you hook it up and it only drops maybe a little bit, and our high side, it only is a little bit higher than the cold side. That's going to indicate that we have a bad air compressor or AC compressor, because we're not getting a big enough differential pressure, or we have non-compressible gas in the system, or it has too much of an oil charge. If it just all of a sudden stopped working though, it is more than likely going to be the bad AC compressor. Another diagnostic point is if your high side does not go up very high, or it takes a very long time and it slowly starts building, and your low side is pretty low, more than likely you're going to be low on Freon, or R134 actually is what this one's technically called, is an R134 system. And when that happens, you're going to have to charge it up. There will be a chart posted up, a temperature pressure relation chart for you guys to reference. That will tell you the about where the pressure should be at, depending on the outside temperature. You can use that as a reference to get you at about the right point. It's going to get your AC working cold again. It's not the exact pressure that your system should have. These systems are charged by weight of refrigerant in the system, which is going to be with a very expensive recovery and recharge machine. Or you can do it if you're familiar with residential or commercial HVAC. You can use superheat and subcooling to find the correct, basically the correct charge for it. But that goes beyond the scope of our regular DIY here. Well, that concludes basic mechanical diagnosing of an AC system. Thanks for watching.